Well, guys, I finally did it. I'm dipping my toes in the world of lithium-ion batteries. So what I end up buying here was 7 Nissan Leaf Generation 2 battery cells. So did a lot of research on them, and these ones seem like the easiest to configure and easiest to learn from. And so uh, what I did was put them in parallel. I paralleled these two, and then parallel the top two, and then I put them in series. So this is a negative here, so these two negatives are in parallel, these two positives are in parallel, these two negatives are in parallel, these two positives in parallel, these two negatives in parallel, and then those two positives in parallel. So you can see these two on the bus bar, there's 4 on that bus bar, 4 on that bus bar, and then 2 on that bus bar. So that is configured as a close to a 24 volt battery. Fully full is 25.2, that's 100% full. I'm not going to take them up that high. I'm probably going to take them up to 24.05, which will be around 90, or should be around 90% full. I just don't have much experience with these batteries, and I don't want to take them to full capacity. There is no BMS on this system, as you can see. There's no battery monitoring system. When I got these cells, they were all at the same voltage, which was great. I got them off of eBay. I think there's a someone Tech Seller Direct or something I bought them from. They came out of California. They were packaged excellent. I can't complain at all about the packing. They came FedEx ground, and they did have a warning, lithium-ion batteries inside. I think each cell came at 3.9 volts. So as anyone knows, there's actually 4 lithium packs in each one of these cells, and they're wired 2 series, 2 parallel, so that in a sense from here to here will give you around 8 volts, and from here to here will give you around 4, and from here to here will give you around 4. So in total, the very cool thing about this, and this pack, I made this quickly. I guess I should say what I did. So I couldn't find copper stock at Home Depot, so I used aluminum. I know aluminum's not quite as great as copper, but that was all that was there. These are M6 metric bolts. From what I understand, the middles are M4s. So if you wanted to parallel these together, those together, and those together, you would have M4 bolts for that. But as powerful as this pack is, and it's kind of crazy, just think on average, this is around 500 watts, 500 watts, 500 watts, 500 watts, 500, 500. So 500 times 6 is, this battery pack has the full potential to carry 3,000 watts, which is just insane compared to my lead acid batteries, which would be almost 4 times this, and probably God knows how much heavier. I think this is around 50 pounds, this pack of 6, give or take. But again, I'm not using BMS. I should be using a BMS, but I've seen other people out there who have similar configurations as this. I think there's one gentleman who's been running for over a year, and his batteries have not been a problem as far as keeping the same constant voltage across the batteries. Now I know there are a lot of negatives to not using a BMS, and I probably will use a BMS once I learn a little more about which BMS I should use. But for right now, because the pack was not fully charged, I'm charging it up right now, and all I'm using here is a very old school battery charger. It's actually a DC power supply, but it is a battery charger, and it's anywhere from 0 to 32 volts on one setting and 0 to 16 on another. And you can see on one setting, if I run at 32 volts, I can go to 4 amps. And if I'm down here at 16 volts, I can go 8 amps. So obviously I'm in the upper position because I need to get higher than 12 volts. So all this power supply really has is a dial that I can increase the amperage up. So I have it cranked up all the way right now as it'll go. It's around 10 amps, and I'll show you in a second. But so down on the negative bus bar, I have my meter connected, and on the top bus bar as well, I have a cheap meter that I bought. It's actually highly accurate. You've seen this in some of my other videos, but right now it's sitting at 24 volts, and this actually goes to my Fluke, which is much more accurate than any other meter that I'm aware of that I have. So I'm reading 24 volts. Now, like I said, 25.2 will be full capacity. I'm not going to take it there. I'm actually going to take this to 24.05, which I believe is 90% full, and I'm going to feel safe with that number right now. I don't need to push this thing to the max, especially since I just got it. And I really don't know the true condition of these batteries. I don't know how many miles the Nissan Leaf had it came out. I don't know the age of the batteries. I do know they're a Gen 2, and one of the purposes here is really to test and see what kind of amperage we can pull out of these batteries. So I'm obviously going to hook up a 24 volt inverter to this. I have a Xantrex that I'm going to probably mount on top of this, and one of the tests that I really want to do is run my wash machine. Sorry, not my wash machine. One of the tests I want to do is run my wash machine on these, and another test I want to do is run my furnace on them. I did my furnace last week, and I got how many watt hours it uses in a day, and I know how much watt hours I should potentially have in here. So I should be able to last around the day or the better part of a day powering my furnace with this. My wash machine will be a great test because I think it only used 100 watts across an hour. So it should be a nice first easy test for this. But just so you can see that it is actually doing something, I have another Fluke meter here, and I'm just going to kind of pull away and show you. I'm going to put around the positive cable, and you can see we're pushing 9.2 amps into the battery pack, and that's 9.2 amps at 24 volts. So give or take 225 watts we're pushing in to this battery pack right now. Again, the battery pack, I want to say was somewhere around 60 to 70% full when I got it, if not a little fuller than that. So it shouldn't take terribly too long at that rate. But again, the number we want to see is 2405, I believe, on the meter. And when it hits 2405, like I said, I will turn it off. Don't want to push this to 25.2 right away. I'm going to guess probably another hour tops, maybe half an hour till we get to 2405 at 200 watts that I'm pushing through this right now. So we'll cut back in when I get it to 25.02, and we'll consider that 90% charged.